Members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Today I am here before you to speak of the war that has gone unnoticed by too many. A war against the Iranian people by an occupying regime. It is a war that has been going on for 47 years. A war in which the regime just slaughtered 40,000 civilians. And a war in which there is no ceasefire. After years of repression, in January, millions of Iranians rose up. Tens of thousands died. But they did not die for a nuclear deal. They did not die for reform and more of the same. They died for freedom and to reclaim their country. The international media speak of the latest twists and turns of so-called diplomacy, ceasefires, negotiations, deals, but ignores the facts on the ground. A generational revolt, the most profound uprising in Iran since 1979, uniting all Iranians across each of our 31 provinces, and in more than 450 cities, and yes, even elements within the state apparatus itself. When legitimacy dies, power begins to crumble. As Chancellor Merz declared, if a regime can only hold onto power through sheer violence and terror against its own population, its days are numbered. The question is not whether change will come. Change is on the way. The real question is how many Iranians will lose their lives while the community of Western democracies continue to merely watch. As we speak, atrocities are still unfolding that the world cannot see because the regime has blocked internet access while silencing the witnesses. Its operatives hunted wounded protesters in hospitals and executed them in cold blood. Bodies were collected by dump trucks. Families searched through rows of unmarked body bags. 40,000. The number is too large to comprehend, too abstract. So let me tell you just one of their stories. Saleheh Akbari was a 38-year-old nurse during the January uprising. She and her husband, Ahmad Khodai, opened their home to wounded protesters, people too terrified to go to the hospitals because the regime was hunting them down. They treated the injured, they hid them, they saved lives. A few days later, regime agents stormed in. Saleheh threw herself between them and her husband. They shot her point blank in the heart, in front of him and their young child. She died in his arms. But then came the unspeakable. Agents who had recuperated her body raped her corpse, photographed the desecration, and sent the images to Ahmad as psychological torture. Broken by grief, he posted a final goodbye on Instagram and attempted to take his own life. Arya Ali Dost, 23 years old, wanted to pursue a career in real estate until the regime killed him in the January protests. His mother is here with us today. Sam Afshari, almost 17, was a champion swimmer. The regime also murdered him in the January protests. His father is here with us today. Mr. Afshari and Mrs. Ali Dost will be here with me after I take your questions. and I hope you will speak with them too. I urge you to listen to them. There are more. In the last 2 weeks, 19 political prisoners have been executed. So let me ask you, do any of you know their names? Have any of you written articles about them? Have you looked into this at all? I read in your newspapers about the tragedies of war. But what of the regime's crimes against my compatriots? It is committing crimes against humanity as we speak. Will the free world do something or watch the slaughter in silence? There are people waiting for the answer. Their lives are literally on the line. As we speak, 20 political prisoners have been sentenced to death and are awaiting execution. Do you know about them? Will you conduct investigation into their shame trials? Each of them is from the January 8th and 9th protests. These 20 people and millions more are waiting to see whether you care about their lives enough to do anything about it. Will you? I want to speak directly to the journalists in this room. The regime has maintained an internet blackout exceeding 1,200 hours, 8 weeks of enforced silence. The Iranian people cannot call their families, cannot document what is being done to them, cannot show the world the crimes committed in their streets. Meanwhile, regime officials appear freely on your networks, post on your platforms, and offer their version of events to your audiences, unchallenged, uncontested, unopposed. You are the only free press the Iranian people have right now. What you choose to cover and how you choose to cover it will determine whether the world sees this revolution clearly or through the fog the regime is deliberately generating. It can literally determine whether innocent people live or die. I am asking you, as journalists, as professionals who understand what a free press is for, to tell their stories. In Germany, you know all too well the danger of dehumanization. Do not allow Iranians to be dehumanized. They are people. They are brave people. They deserve for their story to be told. President Zelensky told me recently, the world did not help the Iranian people enough. It stood aside, and by the time politicians began forming positions, the Ayatollah had already killed thousands. He warned that brutality, rewarded with survival, sends one signal to every bully: kill enough people and you stay in power. And yet, here we are again, on the cusp of the same catastrophic mistake. There are many regime propagandists in the West who are calling the regime's negotiators reasonable, moderate, people with whom we can do business. But Ghalibaf and Arakchi are not pragmatists. They are not reformers, nor are the IRGC killers behind the curtains. They are different faces of the same machine that shot Saleh Akbari in the heart. They are the ones who will execute these 20 people I just told you about. Yet you call them pragmatists. Let me tell you, the execution of my people is not pragmatic, nor is the blackmail the regime is threatening you and the world with. If you think you can make peace with this regime, you are sorely mistaken. If you allow it to survive, further conflict is unavoidable. There will never be stability. if even a watered-down version of this system survives. The Iranian people want a clean break. They have paid for it in blood. They will not exchange their freedom for a convenient fantasy that the monsters with blood on their hands have somehow become the diplomats who will deliver peace. I ask you here in this room, who is representing the 40,000 at the negotiation table? Who speaks for Saleh? Ladies and gentlemen of the press, that is not a rhetorical question. It is your professional responsibility, your moral obligation, and I hope your personal assignment. When spokespeople brief you on progress and breakthroughs and pragmatic solutions, ask whose freedom was negotiated away to get here. The 40,000 cannot hold a press conference. Saleh cannot correct the record, but you can. Europe has not. It claims to stand for human rights, democracy, justice. Yet its politicians ignore the crimes against my people and instead criticize the humanitarian intervention that millions of Iranians pleaded for, the intervention that eliminated the dictator and weakened the regime's apparatus of repression. 88 years after Munich, we gather here in Berlin to ask whether the world will now stand with the people of Iran or continue to engage with the perpetrators of crimes against human dignity, whether it will stand and fight for good or bow to appease evil. In German law, human dignity is sacrosanct, the absolute foundation of all other rights. This regime has made its destruction a governing principle, and it has brought that principle to German soil. German courts have linked Iranian state agencies to firebombing and shooting attacks on synagogues in Bochum and Essen. Intelligence services have documented Iranian cyber attacks on the German government, dissidents, and defense industries. And this is not new. The regime brags about the murders it has committed on your soil, like that of Iranian Kurdish dissidents or a beloved artist, Fereydun Farrokhzad. They have no shame. In fact, they boast. This is what they do. They have always done it, and they are doing it still on European soil, in European cities, against Europeans. The threats to Germany and Europe continues to this day. It threatens you with the terrorists it sends to your shores. It threatens you with the suicide drones it sends Putin in the war against Ukraine. It threatens you with its new long-range missiles that can hit the heart of continental Europe. As long as this regime is in place, you will continue to face these threats, and they will only get worse. No deal will solve this. No negotiations will solve this. It is in their DNA. For 47 years, you have tried to change this regime's behavior, and for that should be obvious by now. You have failed. So today, you have two choices. You can submit and continue to live under constant blackmail, or you can chart a new course. It is time for you to act and solve this problem for good, for your own sake. The Iranian diaspora has delivered its verdict. On February 14th, more than 250,000 Iranians gathered in Munich. They were not alone. They were joined by Germans who value freedom and dignity. Across Hamburg, Stuttgart, and Berlin, they marched under one flag with one demand: a free, secular, democratic Iran. Europe should listen to them and not negotiate with the terrorists who drove them into exile. The choice before Europe is not between war and peace. It is between a dying regime that endangers us all and a free Iran that can become a partner for stability. European governments must stop appeasing this regime, expel regime ambassadors, refuse to legitimize any arrangement that preserves the IRGC-centered power structure, prepare to recognize the transitional government when it is announced. The snapback sanctions, the closure of Iranian consulates, the push to list the IRGC as a terrorist organization, these are steps in the right direction, but they are not enough. For 47 years, the world has known Iran through the action of a regime that took a great nation hostage, chose ideology over its people's well-being, and exported terror instead of peace. But that is not the real Iran. The transitional government I envision will honor these commitments from the very first day, end Iran's nuclear ambitions immediately and permanently, and all support for terrorism, release every hostage, free every political prisoner, normalize relations with the international community. A free Iran will be a stabilizing anchor for the entire Middle East, ending the proxy wars that have ravaged Lebanon, Yemen, Iraq, and Syria, and become a partner for regional economic integration. Its energy potential, reconnected to global markets, would benefit European consumers, Persian Gulf neighbors, and the Iranian people alike. This is the single greatest untapped opportunity for regional peace in a generation, and more than $1 trillion in economic opportunity in a decade ahead. That is only possible when this regime is gone, when the Iranian people's revolution succeeds. The Iranian people are not asking you to fight their revolution. They are already doing that, and with a courage that should humble all of us. They are asking something far more modest. Do not legitimize those who oppress them. Do not strengthen those who terrorize them. Prepare for the day when Iran stands free. There are moments in history when neutrality is not a position, it is a decision. When caution is not prudence, it is complicity. You in Germany know this all too well. You know the cost of appeasement. I am asking you, on behalf of a nation, to stand on the right side of history, to stand for justice. The Iranian people have already done the hardest thing. They stood in the street. They faced the gun. They said the name of freedom out loud in a country where that word could get you killed. They did not wait for the world's permission. But they are still waiting for one thing, for the world to catch up with their courage. The choice is yours. With or without the world, with or without Europe, with or without Germany, our fight goes on. We will not rest until our nation is free, until our people have their dignity restored, until justice is served. But if you stand with us, if you act in honor of those 40,000 innocent protesters, you will save lives. You will stop the flow of blood. On the day of our victory, I hope to be able to tell the people of Iran that Germany stood with them.